list all paper and electronic individual tax returns that were received prior to January this year. And that is assuming, of course, the returns had no errors or issues that required us to follow up with the taxpayer directly. We've been able to hire 700 folks to help at our taxpayer assistance centers where you can go to get in-person help. Now, if you ever need to go to one of our walk-in offices for in-person help, you really need to schedule an appointment ahead of time, but we do offer Saturday walk-in service without an appointment. And we are going to have hours at some of our New York locations this Saturday, May 13th, next month. But again, if you're going to go in person, we recommend an appointment. Now, looking at this slide, it just lists some of the topics we're going to talk about today. The one item I want to mention here is the tax return due date, which this year, the due date to file your Form 1040 is April 18th instead of April 15th. And that is because of the Emancipation Day holiday in the District of Columbia. So everybody has 3 extra days to file this year. If you can't file by April 18th, we recommend that you submit an extension of time to file. It's a Form 4868, and that will give you an automatic extension until October 15th. But again, April 18th is the due date this year. That's next Tuesday. So if you haven't filed, don't procrastinate any longer. Either file or get the extension in. And then we'll talk about some of these other items. Let's move on to the next slide and talk about what to do if you owe money. Now, this slide just lists some payment options. You can see at the top if you want to submit a payment, if you owe money to us. We have electronic funds withdrawal, direct debit, credit card, debit card, check, money order. There's actually other options. They're not listed on this slide. Then at the bottom of the slide, you can see there's additional payment plans and other options if you can't afford the full pay. We have a short-term extension of time to pay. That is, it would give you up to 180 days to pay. The second item there at the bottom is an extended monthly payment plan for a longer period of time. There's something called an offer and compromise, and this is where the IRS may settle a balance due for less than the full amount owed if you qualify. We don't have time to get into that. That's a lengthy subject in itself, but just be aware it's out there. And then finally, if you can't afford to make payments right now at all, let us know and we can put a hold on any collection activity so we don't pursue anything. Now, the most important part of this slide, and it's not listed there, well, at the top it is. It says, what if you owe? File by April 18th. Even if you owe money, it's very important that you file by April 18th. And the extension doesn't work either. An extension is only an extension of time to file. It's not an extension of time to pay. And the reason I say you should file by April 18th, because the penalty for not filing a return when you owe money is 5% a month, 5% per month. But if you file the return and you can't pay the balance due, the penalty is only 6% per year. And if you contact us before April 18th, if you owe money and you file and you set up a payment plan, then the penalty is only 3% per year. So if you don't file, what would you rather pay? 5% per month or 3% per year? Kind of a common sense thing there. So don't fall into that trap. Many people don't file because they owe money, and then the penalties are much higher. Let's go on to the next slide and talk about where you can get some help filing your tax return. Now, the first item at the top is if you have internet access and your income is $73,000 or less, you can use something called IRS Free File. You can go to irs.gov, navigate right from our homepage or landing page to get there, Or if you went to irs.gov, just do a search on the words free file. It will bring you to that link. And all Free File is, it's a public-private partnership we, the IRS, have with many tax preparation and tax software industry leaders who will let you use their brand name products for free to prepare and file your return online. Again, if your income's less than $73,000. Now, the second item there is many people need in-person assistance filing their tax return. And if your income is $60,000 or less, then you can use something called VITA, VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. You have the website there, you have the link. Again, if you went to our website, irs.gov, and typed in VITA or Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, it would bring you to this page. And these volunteers who work at these sites offer free basic tax preparation to qualified individuals. Again, basic tax returns where your income is $60,000 or less. Now, I want to stick with this second bullet or second item on the slide, because if you look there next to VITA, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, you'll see there's the letters TCE, TCE, and that stands for Tax Counseling for the Elderly. These folks work in coordination and can offer tax counseling and other services, tax-related services for the elderly. So again, we're looking at that magic threshold, 60,000 or less. If you're a senior, need some help, you should reach out to the VITA program. And then down below that, we also work in partnership with AARP and have volunteer tax preparation and other tax counseling services through them. So very important. Again, I emphasize this for seniors. They have special rules. They may be able to file something instead of a regular 1040 form. We have a 1040 SR, but this is an extremely valuable resource. If you're unsure, you're uncertain, please reach out and get the help. Let us and these volunteer programs help you. Now, at the bottom of the slide, if your income is above those amounts and you don't qualify for one of these two, or you have a more complex return, we have a link that will help you choose a tax professional to find the right tax return preparer for you based on your income and expenses, etc. So with that, let's transition. We'll talk about some multilingual resources on the next slide, please. And there's a lot to digest here. I'll open this by saying that the IRS, we strive to serve all taxpayers, no matter where they live, their background, what language they speak. And to help fulfill that goal, we translate information, tax information, and provide help to taxpayers in many commonly spoken languages. So as you look at this screen at the very top, you see the word languages in quotation marks. If you went to irs.gov and typed the word languages, it would bring you to this web page. And we're looking at a screenshot of this web page there with all the greetings you can see in the center. Hello, hola, bonjour, all those things. And then down at the bottom, you can see links for different languages. There's 20 languages listed there other than English. And we offer basic tax information. It's not extensive, but we offer basic tax information in those 20 languages. More importantly, toward the top of the screen, you can see that little red circle there. And down below it, I blew up the shot to show where it shows English with a little drop down arrow next to it. If you clicked on that drop down arrow, you would see that irs.gov, far more than what we have for the 20 languages, but irs.gov is available in 7 languages, extensive information. And they're the most common second languages in the US. So we have Spanish, Chinese, Russian, Vietnamese, Korean, etc. So the first step is, if you speak one of those languages, just use that drop-down menu and you can get all the information you need in that language. If not, you might need to use the links at the bottom. And finally, in the upper right, you can see Schedule LEP. LEP stands for Limited English Proficiency. So if someone wants to receive IRS forms and IRS letters in a language other than English, they should file Schedule LEP and tell us what language they want us to use for future mailings. If we have those forms, instructions, or letters available in that language, we'll send it to them. If we don't, we're going to send it in English. And the last thing, I apologize, I digress a little, is we also have telephone, a professional support system of interpreters, professional interpreters. If someone calls and they need a translator, we can offer translation services in up to 350 languages. So go to the languages webpage. It's all right there. And let's move on. We'll talk about IRS online accounts. The IRS offers online accounts. You can go to irs.gov, set up your own online account. There's a whole process to that. You have to go through, register, provide information, and create an online account. But if you go through that process, it will allow you to do things like view your current year tax return online. You'll be able to get tax transcripts for current and prior years. You can make payments, view payments. You can set up a payment plan. If you're a victim of identity theft or just want to protect yourself from identity theft, you can get something called an identity protection PIN, a personal ID number that will prevent people from thieves from committing tax-related identity theft crimes using your name and social security number. Then down at the bottom, if you can't or don't want to set up an irs.gov online account, there are other options to get tax records. You can get them by mail or over the phone. Phone numbers there. So you have the information on accessing your records. Let's move on and we will talk about credits, starting with the premium tax credit. And this credit, first of all, it was expanded under COVID legislation. Specifically, there's something called the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. And that is continued through the 2022 tax year. So for last year, the return that you're filing now, of course, taxpayers may still qualify for the temporarily expanded eligibility for the premium tax credit. And the premium tax credit, this is a refundable credit that helps individuals and families cover the cost of premiums for their health insurance, for health insurance that they purchased through the health insurance marketplace. So if you purchased your health insurance through the health insurance marketplace, please check to see if you meet the eligibility requirements. It's claimed on the Form 8962. It's listed there on the slide, and there's publication 974 you can go to for more details. And finally, let's talk about a few more credits. On the next slide, you can see that there is 3 items listed. There is the credit for child and dependent care expenses. There's the child tax credit, which includes the additional child tax credit, and the earned income tax credit. Now, those items, those credits, they previously had expanded provisions in 2021 and the years prior to that. But those expanded provisions of these 3 credits were not extended under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. So therefore, the expanded provisions of these three credits expired on December 31st of 2021. Now, I want to emphasize here that these credits are still available. They're out there. They're still available, but they have changed back to the criteria that was in place prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. And the reason I mention this is because many taxpayers that previously claimed these credits may receive smaller refunds this year. And again, that's just because the credits have changed back to the criteria that was in place prior to the pandemic. And with that, I believe that wraps up my segment, Orlando, and we're going to transition to our next speaker. Back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So our next speaker is Mr. George Attity. He is with the Brooklyn Tax Advocacy Service. Mr. Advocacy, the floor is yours. See if you just need to add him to this.
And
there you go, sir.
Okay. For the introduction, and like you said, my name is George Ajeti. I'm the local tax advocate for the Brooklyn area. The way tax is worked by we work by jurisdiction. So Brooklyn area covers Staten Island, Brooklyn, and Queens. However, if you happen to be in our office and per your zip code, your case have to work somewhere else, we will do that for you. We'll transfer for you. You don't have to do anything. We'll load your case and we'll transfer to the next office that will be working your case. So whether we work your case in our office or we work in another office, you still get the same quality service to help resolve your cases. So who we are? We are taxpayer advocate. We are an independent organization within the Internal Revenue Service. We provide free services to all eligible taxpayers, including the individual taxpayers, businesses, nonprofits, and more. There are no income limits for our eligibility. Tax function by law is to assist taxpayers to resolve tax problems with IRS. We identify areas where taxpayers have problems dealing with IRS. To the extent possible, we also propose changes in the administrative practices of the Internal Revenue Service, and we also identify potential legislative changes to mitigate such problems. We have offices all over the country, and anywhere you are within the country, you have access to us. Some states have at least one office, some states have more. Brooklyn, for New York, for example, we have about 5 offices in New York alone. You have one in Brooklyn, you have one in Manhattan, you have one in Brookhaven area, which is Long Island. We have one in Buffalo, and we have one in Albany. And so wherever you are within the New York State, you can find a place to go for assistance. So what do we do in tax? We protect taxpayers' rights by striving to ensure taxpayers are treated fairly and they understand their rights under the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. We also help taxpayers where a system has failed to operate as intended or their efforts has failed to resolve the problem with the Internal Revenue Service. And if you qualify for help, your case will be assigned to an individual one case advocate who will be working with you from the beginning to the end. Unlike IRS line that when you call, you speak to different people um, anytime you call. Within Taxpayer Advocate in the service, your case will be assigned to one person. That person will be contacting you, will be providing you updates, will be providing you estimated time that the issue can be resolved, and the person is assigned to you. So if you have any questions or you receive anything from IRS, you can share that with the case advocate, and the case advocate will help you navigate through the process until all the issues has been resolved. When do you come to ask for help? In general, you come to us when you experience a financial or economic hardship or an immediate threat of adverse action. You can also come to us when you are not able to resolve the issue through normal IRS channels. And also, you have tried to contact the IRS, but no one has responded to you, or the IRS hasn't responded by the date they promise you. And that can be a grounds for you to come to us. Um, when you are working with us, what do you expect, or what you can expect from us is we will advocate on your behalf to ensure that you get a fair shake, to ensure that your issue is resolved properly, to ensure that IRS is protecting your rights and treating you fairly. Like I mentioned earlier, you have one individual to go to. That is a breeze because right now, if you call IRS, you are guaranteed to stand on the phone for at least 45 minutes. And if you are lucky, you get to talk to somebody. If you're not, the system can boot you off and you have to come back in because there may be so many people coming to the dashboard. But with us, you have one person by name, you call them. If you cannot reach them, you can call their manager. So you have one person to deal with. Um, you can, like I mentioned earlier, you get updates when the case will be completed, things like that, and you'll be provided with a clear, complete, and correct explanation of what is going on, what you need to do to fix the issue, and what you need to do not to get into similar situation in the future. We also address large-scale systemic issues that affect many taxpayers. So we're not only working individual issue, but also issues that may have affect multiple people. For example, a payroll provider or payroll service provider, which otherwise a paymaster, have a glitch in their system. That glitch can affect all the taxpayers that all his clients who are the taxpayers. And so situation like this, they may be late in paying their FTD, which IRS will impose penalty. So if it's affecting multiple people, that is one of those systemic issues or the large scale issue that we can also assist. Because somebody else make a mistake doesn't mean the clients have to pay for it. And so we can help in that regard to work with the number of people that has been affected in this situation to help, resolve the issues for them. We raise these concerns to senior leaders at the IRS too. And also, when we find problems with IRS systems, we do best to get them to resolve it. I mentioned your rights, or we protect your right. What are those rights? You have the right to be informed. You have the right to quality service. You have the right to pay no more than the correct amount of taxes that you owe. And you also have the right to challenge the IRS position and be heard. You have the right to appeal an IRS decision in an independent forum. You have the right to finality. You have the right to privacy. You have the right to confidentiality. And then you also have the right to retain representation. And last but not the least, you have the right to a fair and just system. Those are some of the things that will ensure that it's protected. The taxpayer advocate also have reporting mandate to Congress. So we do annual report to Congress, and we also do the media report to Congress as well. Now, within the annual report to Congress, the National Taxpayer Advocate General will list about 10 cases or the most serious problems, and then we'll bring highlights on them. And then we'll also bring recommendation how to resolve the issue. We also propose legislative changes that the elected officials can look into that to see where they can write a bill or propose a bill, which later on can become law to change some of those practices that we have identified that is affecting taxpayers. We also have a low-income taxpayer clinics. Normally, those low-income tax clinics they are private, but we work with them because we provide funding to them and matching funding to them as well. And the low-income tax clinics, they can represent you before the IRS or even in court. They can go a little further. They can go to court. Taxpayer advocate, normally our representation is within the Internal Revenue Service, which is more of administrative. But low income tax clinic can do the same, and they can also go to court on your behalf. Their services is free or a small fee, and so we work hand in hand with them. There are times that cases we cannot get a resolution administratively, and then we can also refer those cases to them for them to look at it should in case that case will need to go to tax court. But we don't have jurisdiction to represent anybody in tax court, but LITC does because they are staffed with attorneys, which in this instance they can do that. Their services are free. Like I said, it's low income. The name is Low Income Tax Clinic, so they deal with folks that um, don't have that much or they are considered low income. I heard the speaker that spoke before me that you can also request letters in different languages. We're not only dealing with the English because IRS understands that there's a lot of languages around that people have the opportunity or taxpayers can elect to get some forms or um, brochures and things like that in different languages, and they can request to get those as well. So you are not only limited to English. We also have the interpreter services around. And in taxpayer advocate, for instance, we do some offices are staffed with a bilingual case advocate that will help to, if English is your second language, those bilingual case advocates usually is dealing with Spanish, and they will be able to speak with you in Spanish language fluently, and then you'll be able to get the service you need. In the areas that the language is not Spanish, but it's any other language, we do have interpreter services around that can also be very helpful in dealing with you. So that is the general task overview. Some of the tips that we are giving to seniors this year or anytime there's a filing season around, we encourage taxpayers to use their W-2, which in tax statement, not their last pay stub. In some instances, you have these fly-by-night tax preparers that will only come around during the filing season. After the filing season, you don't see them anymore. They're gone. They may tell you, oh, you can use your last pay stub. Don't do it. Use your W-2 that has been given to you because there are times that the information on the W-2 is different than your last pay stub. And so if there's a discrepancy that can affect your refund, it could also delay you getting your refund because the numbers are not matching with what IRS have in the system. You want to always make sure that you double check to ensure that all the information on your tax return is correct. Whether somebody filed your taxes for you or you did it yourself, it's your taxes and you are responsible for all the information on it. So you want to make sure that information that is on your tax return is correct and accurate. Be aware of tax return preparation software that imports prior year data automatically. There are some softwares, and if you use some of those free files that my colleague mentioned earlier, they will, some of them, especially if you have used them before, can import some of your information from the prior year. It helps save time, it helps move your preparation faster, but you want to make sure that that information is still correct and nothing has changed. When you file your taxes, ensure to attach all your required tax forms and schedules when you submit your tax return. Failure to do so can delay your refund or can even delay the processing of your return. And if you are a Social Security beneficiary, ensure that you include all income to prevent underreporting. You may receive a form SSA 1099, which is a Social Security benefit statement for Social Security benefits, and or a form 1099R, which is the distributions from pensions, annuities, retirement, profit sharing plans, IRAs, insurance contracts, and so on. You should include this income on your 1040 or 1040 SR, which is the income tax return for seniors. You want to make sure that any other income is also reported. Any other income that you receive during the year is reported. They are free file. IRS have free files. You go to irs.gov. IRS is contract with several providers that can give you that free filing. You can also use the TCE, which is a tax counseling for the elderly. The voluntary income tax assistance, which is a vital program, is also available for your use. So these are some of the things that is available to you. You are not alone in this. A lot of time filing season can be stressful, but I believe that IRS have a lot of resources available to you to include taxpayer advocate service. And if you have any issues and you need services from us, we're available. Come to us and we'll help you navigate through the process. We don't file taxes for taxpayers. However, if you run into a problem, you have a balance due, you cannot pay, you can come to us and we can work with IRS on your behalf. You may qualify for currently not collectible. That means you owe the money, you owe IRS the money, but you are not in the financial situation to pay right now. We can advocate on your behalf for IRS to put your account on uncollectible status. We can also work with you through offer and compromise process. You hear this on TV or even on radio. I owe IRS 100,000 and I only pay 10,000. Those are offer and compromise. You know, the way they advertise it make it seem like those private companies have any role in it. They do not. You can do that on your own and you save your money. They cannot guarantee you that your offer is going to be accepted, but rather they sell it to you as if they have a role in it and they charge you for it. These are all free services available to you and you don't have to pay. In some instances, a portion of your Social Security benefit may be taxable based on your other income and your filing status. And to know or to check and see if your Social Security or a portion of it is taxable, this is how you determine that. You take half of your Social Security money you have collected during the year and add it to the other income that you made. So you made $10,000 in Social Security in the course of the year. However, you're also working somewhere else and you make some income. So you take half of your Social Security and then you add it to the income that you made for the year. If you are a single person and it come out to be $25,000 or more, that means part of your Social Security benefits may be taxable. If you're married filing jointly, then you take half of your Social Security plus half of your spouse Social Security and add it to all the other income that you made. If the total is more than 32,000, then part of your Social Security may be taxable. And so you want to pay attention to these things because you don't want to file a return when other income have to be factored in and you didn't include that in. That can create a delay for you. Now let's talk about scams out there. There's a lot of scams out there that are targeting a lot of senior citizens. You know, they'll call you on the phone and they tell you owe money, and if you don't pay, they're gonna bring the sheriff, they're gonna bring the cops to arrest you. IRS don't operate like that. There's no way IRS will operate like that. That would be against taxpayer bill of rights. Now, if you owe taxes, IRS will be sending you correspondences that you owe. And so you would know from that. Also, you can call the IRS 1-800 number line to check and see if indeed you owe anything. Don't send no money to anybody because most scammers will tell you to send on an Apple Pay, all this um, non-traditional payment method. And that's one of the areas you will know that they're scamming you. You know, a primary example that I know somebody who they send him a letter saying you owe 9,000. And if it started as 4,000, you owe 4,000. The senior citizen panicked and he withdrew 4,000 from a savings and sent it to them. And then they send another letter saying you owe 9,000. Now they know if they send you get panic, you send them money. And then she sent the 9,000. And then they send another one that says you owe 12,000. At that time, she realized that, wait a minute, why am I owing the same year? And anytime I send money, I get a bigger bill than what I got previously. And then he reached out to us and then we explained to her actually you don't really owe taxes. So everything you send it to a scammer. Unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do. We will not be able to help you retrieve that money. It's pretty much gone with the wind, you know. So you want to be careful. When you receive those calls, reach out to somebody. You know, you can ask your kids to make those phone calls for you to check for you. Or you can make that phone call yourself. You can reach out to taxpayer advocate to say, hey, I'm getting this course. Is there any way somebody can help me to ensure that truly, truly do I owe money or it is a scam? Another big scam that is also out there right now is this international internet love. They prey on folks that are lonely, folks that are by themselves, folks that are um they have they feel or they have the edge to have somebody to either comfort them through conversation or whatnot, and by the time you know, you're sending them everything. So be careful when people will pretend now, because of the voice over the internet, people can have American number. You may know it as a New York number 347-718 and all 917, all the other zip code that may be from is New York, but they actually sit in a foreign country. So you want to pay attention to that. Mostly when they speak, they have heavy accents. So you can tell. I have an accent myself, which is heavy too, but I'm not one of the scammers. I'm one of the good ones. So you can only base that on the accent because IRS have huge diversity among them. So when you're working with them, you can't only judge that somebody have an accent, so the person may not be legit, but rather you want to ask questions, ask them questions. They're badging them out. They may read anything to you, but then if you are not sure or the method of which they want you to pay, it's not your traditional method by sending check or a regular bank certified check, things like that, you can call. Make sure you are aware of those things and call somebody before you become you fall prey to them because they are vicious. They will take everything that you have, and by the time you realize, you have left with nothing. So pay particular attention to those types of advocate. We are there to assist you. And my counterpart in Brooklyn, I mean in Manhattan, will speak after me. Our services is free. You don't pay anything. So come to us. Let us help you. My local office line or my intake line is 718-834-2200. You can call this number. And if you have any issue that you need assistance from us, we also have the form 911 that you can complete and send to us. And if you go through your congressional office, they will give us a privacy release form and we'll work with them on your behalf. Again, they are also there to provide great assistance to you, and we'll work with them hand in hand to ensure that you get a fair shake, to ensure that
Okay,
your
thank you
issues are
so much.
resolved. And our fax number is 855-818-4818.
Thank you so much. That was a very intuitive and very detailed information about how TAS can help seniors, our people that are in need of actually getting information for the IRS. Thank you, Mr. Adjutant. Please stay on. Now we're going to give the floor over to Ms. Bestida Bailey from Brooklyn. Are you from Brooklyn? You're Manhattan Tax Advocacy Services. Miss Bailey, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Betsy Bailey. I'm the local taxpayer advocate in the Manhattan office. So I cover Manhattan, the Bronx, Yonkers, and Westchester County. I work hand in hand with Mr. Ajete, and we are here for whatever you need us for. If you're having problems with the IRS or running into a wall and can't resolve your issues, we're here for you. So instead of going to someone that could be scamming you or that you have to pay for services, you're welcome to come here to the Taxpayer Advocate. We work one-on-one with you until your issue is resolved, and we offer individualized assistance. Don't worry about immigration status, language. We speak different languages in the office. I speak Spanish, and we have Russian, we have Chinese in the office as well. So don't worry about any language barriers or any immigration statuses. We are here to help and assist you. My counterpart pretty much covered everything. So Ms. Godwin will provide you with the contact information on how to get a case in our office if you live in our jurisdiction, and we will open the floor for questions.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So, Ms. Dara, the floor is now yours.
Hi, I'm Dara Godwin, and I am active lead case advocate in Ms. Bailey's office. And as her and Mr. Agite stated, we're here to provide assistance to our taxpayers that need our assistance in all areas. And our number for Manhattan would be by phone is 212-436-1011, or you can fax in a form 911, which is at 855-818-4824. Again, our fax number is 855-818-4824. And our direct phone number is 212-436-1011. And we're here to assist everyone that needs assistance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, being that we are moving forward, does anyone have any last comments that they might want to say for our constituents in the area of seniors and taxes? Any tidbits, any tax tips? Also, talk about also the fact that the IRS now has an app that people can download. If someone could speak to that, of how people can monitor their returns through the tax app that they have, and direct filing, how direct filing works for most of our constituents. If someone can speak on that, that would be great. Ms. Betsy, can you speak on that issue?
Well, as far as last minute tips, we just want to, let everyone know, don't file with your last pay stubs. Make sure you have your W-2s from all income source, any income sources, W-2s, 1099s, any income that all your taxable income. Make sure that you report it, because if the income is incorrect, we have the income verification program, and if the income doesn't match, you may be flagged for identity verification. And if you're experiencing hardships, that's just going to cause a delay in you receiving your refund. So try for your return to be as accurate as possible, as well as getting it filed by a reputable organization or VITA and TCE. So don't get scammed in by people offering and promising more money and things of that nature. So double check your information, ask for a copy of your papers. If you're paying someone to do your taxes, make sure they're signing the return, and triple check those bank accounts, because sometimes the preparers put their bank account and the money goes to another bank account. So verify the information. When in doubt, come into the IRS office. As Brian said, we've had taxpayer experience days from February, March, April, May. We had problem solving Saturdays where the IRS was open on Saturdays and you didn't need an appointment to come in. It was walk in, and any problems that you have, for the most part, was one-stop service to get the issue resolved.
Thank you. My next question is going to be guided to Mr. Brian Wozniak. Mr. Brian Wozniak, can you talk a little bit about the IRS app that they're doing in the AI or anything with technology, new advancements that are going on? A lot of the constituents that have called have had delays in getting their refund and knowing what's actually happening. Can you talk to that?
It's quite a bit to digest there. So number one, the app. There is something called the IRS To Go app, which you can access IRS information on your phone. And we can provide that link to you separately, perhaps after this or on next Tuesday's Tax Tuesday call. Again, the IRS To Go app. All of my colleagues here, George, Betsy, Dara, all spoke. Identity theft and tax-related crimes are happening. Everyone has a target on their back for these types of crimes. It's each and every one of your personal responsibilities to just make sure all the things that have been mentioned, work with reputable tax preparers, make sure the information is correct. don't take the bait. That's what we always say is don't take the bait. Don't fall for the scam. Something sounds too good to be true. It probably is. Anyone you're having prepare your return, make sure they sign it, as Betsy said, etc. Now, as far as the status of tax returns, when Orlando, the constituent, asked about the refund, there are online tools people can use to check the status. For example, the most basic one is something called Where's My Refund? You go to irs.gov, there's a link there, Where's My Refund? You enter some basic information and it will give you a status update. We have other tools, Where's My Amended Return? We have something called an interactive tax assistant where you can, it's kind of a situation where the system will ask you questions and you answer, and it will tell you if you qualify for certain credits, like the earned income tax credit, things like that. The other item Orlando mentions with the AI component of it is the IRS has begun moving toward what are called chat bots. So it could be on the telephone, and now we're even looking at the internet where we're using this technology to use these automated artificial intelligence systems to communicate with taxpayers who are on hold and things like that. When I opened the session after Orlando gave us the introductions, though, I told you that we've been able to hire many more staff. The hold times are much, much lower than last year. You generally can get through to speak to a live telephone assister. Our most common telephone line is 1-800-829-1040, like the form 1040. 800-829-1040, general tax assistance. IRS.gov is there. I don't want to take too much time, Orlando. I'll turn it back to you. I could talk all day on this. And next Tuesday, we are going to talk more about identity theft and what you can do to protect yourself. We'll build more on the schemes and the scams that George and Betsy have already brought up.
Thank you. And then the last thing, can you just mention a little bit more about how many jobs are now available if your people are looking to be employed by the IRS? Well, you might not know how many jobs, but just give them an idea where to go to. I know it's usajobs.gov.
Oh my gosh, Orlando, I think we missed that slide in the presentation, didn't we? There was a slide, but the website is usajobs.gov. Again, it's just, and if you can scroll through, I apologize, Orn. There we go. Oh, back one. So if you go to usajobs.gov, there's a couple options. This is the landing page here. Now, kind of at the top in the upper right, it says location. I really see, it's hard to see, but you can do a search on the left side by a specific agency you might be interested in working for. And then on the right side is by a location. So yesterday, I did a search on New York, for the 5 boroughs in New York City. This week, there are over 2,000 federal jobs. This is not just IRS jobs. This is all federal jobs are posted here. You want to go to work for any federal government agency, this is where you start. And this is where the IRS posts all of their jobs. When I looked at the job search yesterday, there are over 2,000 federal jobs currently hiring in the New York metro area. Now, the one thing I want to say is, oh, and by the way, at the bottom of the slide, there's 3 tabs there. You do need to create a profile. When you apply for a job, you're going to have to upload some information, a resume, things like that, submit it, and you interact with the system. This is what facilitates the application process. The other thing I want to say is if you're really interested in not just IRS, any federal jobs, I could talk all about the benefits, the healthcare. Forget it. I mean, there's a lot of upward mobility, but if this is what you're interested in, I'll close by stating that this site is updated regularly, almost daily. And what we recommend is, because most jobs, when they are posted here, they stay there for about 2 weeks or longer, but most of them are usually a 2-week window. We recommend that you check this site every week for updates, because you might check today, you go back next Thursday and check. There's going to be a whole bunch of new other jobs, different agencies out there available for you. So this is your one-stop shop to get started. We also have job fairs. We have some things called direct hiring, where you may apply for a job at the IRS and we may hire you on the spot. So without taking too much time, I know the constituents have been on. Back to you, Orlando. Oh, you're on mute.
If anyone has any last words, thank you, Brian. If anyone has any last words that they would like to share with the community, now's the time, Mr. Adjutant. If you have any last words, you would have to unmute.
My last words is be aware and ensure that you always and always verify your information on the return. Even though somebody may be the one filing it for you, you are still responsible for it. And so you want to verify it and review it. If there's something that is on that is not supposed to be on, raise that to the preparer immediately, so that can be rectified, because you don't want to be caught in a return preparer this misconduct issues or fraudulent issues. It is your information, so you are still responsible for it. And if you run into any problems, we are there to help you. Our service is free. We don't charge any money for it, and we will work with you from the beginning to the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Miss Dara, do you have any last words?
Basically, what Mr. Agitate said, just make sure that your information on your returns are correct, especially your bank information. Because if you put the wrong bank account information on there, it's going to go to someone else's account, and it's going to be pretty hard to get your money refunded to you. So you want to check that. You want to check your name, your address, your social security number, and just to make sure that everything is correct on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's
Thank
all
you.
I have.
Thank you. And Miss Betsy, do you have any last words?
Whenever possible, file electronically.
That's one thing that we've been hearing a lot. So thank you again for coming to our event. Again, we have circulated a flyer stating that when we are going to be having our next Tax Tuesdays or events, which is a 2023 virtual tax clinic. The next session will be about small business and self-employed and gig economy workers, which will be Tuesday the 18th. And the following Tuesday will be nonprofits and faith-based organizations. Everything will be at 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. We look forward to seeing you. Being proactive regarding your tax issues is very imperative to making sure that you get the right refund that you do to deserve. Thanks again, and thanks for coming by.
Thank you.